Hi guys, we're here to do a quarterly recap sprint video, Josh and Arman, and our project is Collaborative Code Competitions, also known as PAIR. So a quick overview of what we'll be talking about. We're going to be talking about how our project aims to improve the programming problem-solving skills of novice programmers through specific outcomes which are collaboration and self-regulation. Collaboration we spent a lot of time studying in the past quarter, and self-regulation was actually new to this quarter. And we spent the initial part of our quarter identifying which affordances we wanted to add to our system, specifically what kind of game mechanics we wanted to add. We ran a status update this quarter, we built a lot of tech, and then we eventually ran a study. And our overall goal is to submit to SRC, which is due January 2nd. So in Sprint 0, we spent time ramping up. We had already identified affordances of collaboration and distributed resources to help individuals collaborate, but we also wanted to look into other affordances for competition, for fun, and to see what else we wanted to add to our system to increase engagement. This, however, would change later on in the quarter. In Sprint 1, we playtested a lot of games with Garrett to identify potential game mechanics and their affordances for our system. After doing that, we identified some qualities that we would want in our system, so we created a lo-fi prototype of our game with physical cards and tech modified from last quarter. And what we ended up doing was using that tech for our status update at the end of Sprint 1. In Sprint 2, what we started doing was designing, architecting, and building PAIR. We decided to make our system fully digital without any physical cards. We also spent time refining our design arguments and trying to really pin down what our characteristics for our system were. In Sprint 3, we continued building and designing PAIR, but we also sat in on Andy Ko's talk on self-regulation and several other qualities and research that he's done in computing education, and that really changed the lens at which we approached our project. We are now more focused on self-regulation, and we moved away from competition and engagement. In Sprint 4, we're still continuing to build and design PAIR. This ended up being a large chunk of our work this quarter. We read through related work on PAIR programming to identify key outcomes and what we wanted to focus on in our study. We began filling out the R and R squared canvases to help guide us in our understanding of the overall research realm of our project. And we started designing a study to run at the end of the quarter, which would be in the next sprint, we spent time fixing bugs with the prototype, and then we scheduled and ran a study with 5 pairs of participants, so 10 participants in total, and after which we began data synthesis and analysis, and we're currently still in that process. Our goal now over break is to draft an outline and eventually actually write the SRC paper for submission on January 2nd. Lastly, we'll be demoing all the tech that we've built this quarter.
Here's a quick demo of PAIR. In PAIR, 2 programmers begin at a screen like this. One selects and starts the challenge and then shares the challenge ID with their partner. Once both partners have joined the challenge lobby, they can proceed to the challenge itself. On the challenge screen, you'll see on the left is the prompt and on the right is the text editor. Only the active player can type in the text editor. On the right edge are buttons that allow the active player to select their action, run their code, submit and end their turn, etc. And on each turn, the active player can perform up to 4 of the actions here. These are either writing or editing a single line of code, consuming a card to instantiate its contents, or discarding a card to draw a new one from the deck. Both players can view the top bar to see whose turn it is, how many actions the active player has left, and how many cards are left in the deck. Once the deck runs out of cards and a player attempts to draw from it, the game will restart, the editor is cleared, the deck is restored and reshuffled, and the pair must start the challenge over again. You draw cards from the deck either at the beginning of the game, in which case you will receive 4 cards just right off the top of the deck, or at the end of every turn when you will receive 2 cards, or when you discard a card, in which case you will receive 1 card. The cards displayed on the bottom show programming constructs that players can use as part of consume actions. Because players are only allowed to declare primitives or perform actions on existing variables, these cards are necessary for allowing programmers to perform more complex tasks, such as control flow. When a move is selected, a player will be able to submit that move only if the action matches what he or she clicked. That is, the move must be determined to be valid. So for instance, a player cannot select the right code action and then declare a hash table. So you can see that the submit code button was inactive then. The system catches this and then determines that the move is invalid. And one thing to note is that anytime the code is syntactically incorrect, the code won't compile and we deem it to be valid, so it may be submitted. Using this prototype, we've run a study with 5 pairs of programmers, 3 using this version and 2 using a version of this prototype with all game-related components stripped out and with none of the rules, so to simulate normal pair programming. We're still analyzing the data that we've collected from the study, and next quarter we'll be seeing how we can improve our system and our study to learn more about how to design for collaborative and self-regulation behaviors.